Welcome to the Free Press Inc. This is a web blog where the free market of ideas and the free market of commerce meet. This is a video series, part 1 of 4, exploring why evolution is not science. I have 2 books on Kindle. One explores the origins of evolution in ancient mythology, and the other explores the origins of evolution in medieval alchemy. Evolution is on the minds of many people. Not everyone agrees that it is science. But if we say something is science, does that make it so? If we think it is science, does that make it science? Is science what someone believes it is? In fact, science is not a tautology, philosophy, or theology. Science is actually hard work. Philosophy is what someone thinks is real. Just because someone has a big brain doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. The word science comes from the Latin scientia, which means knowledge. And speculations or philosophical science will come up with conclusions that are just basically guesses. Empirical science tests these speculations. Empiricism begins where speculation ends. If science is to be empirical, it is to be falsifiable, it needs to be testable, it has to be analytical, and it should produce laws of nature or principles of science. If you have these things, then you have real science. Falsifiable. A philosophical viewpoint can be falsified by showing what nature will conform to if the thesis is correct. A falsifiable thesis is also testable. Through the test, we will gather data or information that validate or invalidate the speculative thesis. If the thesis is correct, it will be validated. If not, the test will bear this out. Testing produces data. This is really where the work of science begins. Data is born of observation, and the word empirical actually means to observe. Speculation also means to look, but as there's no difference between looking and observing, why do we have 2 different words for science? Actually, there are 2 different methods by which we gain knowledge. Empirical science begins with a speculative thesis and then conducts a test to validate it. A philosophical science ends with a speculative thesis and leaves it at that. Analysis takes the empirical data and yields it into empirical formulas. Analysis will show the functional relationships between data, parameters within the data, and express that mathematically. These statements of math become empirical formulas. And these complicated mathematical or empirical formulas are simplified as models. And these models then become the laws of nature, principle science, mathematically stated. These statements of math as laws of nature or principles of science are what are used by engineers to develop technology. A speculative thesis may or may not be true, but it will be tested, and if it bears out that the data and the math agree, then the thesis is validated. If not, then it is invalidated. Basically, if you don't have math, you don't have science. And as the math is based upon data, again, no data, no math, no science. So let's apply this to biological evolution. The central thesis of evolution is the transformation of species. To falsify this, we say species will change from one type or kind into another. Biological evolution, if real, requires the transmutation, not just the simple mutation of species. But in looking at the tests that have occurred over 100 years of fruit flies, we see that there are no transmutations. Even the 4-winged variety of fruit fly is still a fruit fly. 50,000 generations of bacteria have produced nothing more than bacteria. And all changes in moths render moths, finches, dogs, cats. There's no empirical data to support the central thesis of biological evolution. So let's analyze this. All changes in species produce slight variations in characteristics, which are only mutations. There are no transmutations. Transmutations are changes in kinds or types of species. Mutations are slight variations in species characteristics. It doesn't change what a species is. Without a set of empirical data, there's no mathematics to explore. So is biological evolution valid? Let's look at it. Evolution has no evidence in terms of observable data. No data means no mathematics. No math means no law of nature or principle science. Therefore, evolution is not a valid scientific principle. Biological evolution is, in fact, invalidated. Please join us at the Free Press Inc. I have a comments page that you can write, a contact page in which you can send me an email. I ask you to join us as we continue with this 4-part series, and thank you for visiting. Have a good day.